Hey, what's cracking? How are you doing today? I hope this video finds you doing well. I hope you're sitting pretty on top of a mountain somewhere, man. But if for any reason you aren't, right now is the time we can change your thoughts, man. Me and you. We can take a second, hit pause, stop, think about the things we have in our life instead of things we don't, man. And that's what these videos are all about. If you're feeling like this is a real rough time in your life, things just aren't going your way, you spilt the coffee on you, the bills are due, can't get anybody to help you out, maybe you can check out some of these videos and it'll help you out, man. My name is Ricky Dye, and if you've never watched one of my videos, I went to prison when I was 15 years old. And I was there for over 20 years, 20 and a half years. I got out when I was almost 35. And I've been out several years now, 14 almost, working on my 14th. And so I've started making these videos, and I've been sharing my experience, what happened, the crime I committed, being certified as an adult and going to prison as a kid. Because I know a lot of people wonder what happened to those kids when they go to prison. So if you check these videos out, if you go back, start at the beginning, I've been working my way all the way through, and sometimes I stop and answer questions. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and you do like the video, or if you want to help me out, man, I'm trying to make something of myself the right way. So if you respect that, hit the subscribe button and help me out. And today I'm going to jump right back into my story. If you've been keeping up, I've been at Lexington the second time. Now I'm in lockup. I've snuck this crank in that was no good, this meth. Give it all to one guy. He told me it was his money, and his old lady said she'd send it. Truth of the matter is, he's pressuring her to send it. I didn't know this. He sent me money several times for weed and stuff. And it's always been sent right on time, and his wife's never had any problem with sending the money. So I think it's going to be no problem when my wife tries to call her to get it. But instead, she calls up there, says that, he told her that I've given him some bad dope, and if I don't get me off the yard, he's going to kill me. So they've taken me up there and put me up there, and when I find out they're trying to protect me, I raise hell in front of the whole visitor room. And they end up taking me back up here to lock up. And he ends up getting locked up. When they find out it's his old lady that called, they lock him up, put him on protective custody. And a few weeks later, they ship him off to minimum security. He's fixing to get out. Come to find out, he has already put in his papers to go to minimum security. And that was part of why he's getting this dope, and he's pressuring her to send this money. And he's thinking that he might even ship out and leave before he has to pay it. So now it's time he had got it on credit for a week or 10 days. And he's hoping he'll leave before he has to pay. But here it's time to pay, and he's drugged me out an extra week or so, and now we're really wanting our money, and now he's put pressure on his girl to go ahead and send it, and she got me locked up instead. So now that I'm in lockup, I've been selling this weed, sneaking this weed in through this garden stuff for quite a while. A lot of people owe me and Dave money. And a lot of them figure now that I'm already in lockup, this guy's already got me up there in lockup and he's in protective custody. Now's the perfect chance for them to run and tell case managers and guards that they owe me money, and they're afraid if I get out, I might do something to them. And so then they sign what's called a separatese on me. And when you go and sign a separatese on someone, they have to be renewed every year. So if you sign one on someone and a year goes by and you forget to put it back on there, then you could accidentally end up in the same place with them. But these guys signed what's called a separatese, so that made it where I couldn't come back onto the yard. So now I spend a few months up there in lockup, same cell every day. There's nowhere to go, and like I told you, if you go to recreation when you're in a hole, you just go into another cage with chain link fence around it, or on the roof where you can see a little blue sky, but you have to do it in belly chains and shackles and handcuffs, and it's not a lot of fun. So most people just refuse it and stay in their cell during lockup. And when you're in lockup, you can't have nothing but your boxers, and you get a sheet, one sheet that goes over the mattress about that thick. No exaggeration. It's a green mattress with like some fireproof plastic around it. It's real hard cotton. Usually it's a steel bunk, just a steel slab that comes out of the wall. I had a cell partner in there. You usually do. Sometimes later in my sentence, I refuse cell partners in lockup, but this time I had a cell partner, and he was getting back on the yard, but they were shipping me. I was down there several months, 3 or 4 months. And they shipped me to James Crabtree Correctional Center. And that's where we're going to go now. So when you get to James Crabtree Correctional Center, it's different than any other medium security prison in the state of Oklahoma in the fact that it's open dorms. There's only one unit on the yard with cells on it, and everyone's trying to get a cell because nobody wants to be in an open dorm. Because you get into it with somebody and you're asleep in an open dorm, I mean, they can come hit you in the head. And that happens all the time. And I'm going to get to a story about that because it doesn't take very long at all before I see it. But I want to get things set up, take you there with me. So we're on the bus. We get there. We'll say it's me and you. We pull up on the yard, and it's a real old place. It used to be a boys' ranch, a dude ranch, years and years ago. It was built way back in the early 1900s. And it was built for boys, not for grown men in a medium security prison. And you first get there, and the first building you're going to go into is a real old brick building. And this whole prison, it doesn't have a big old wall around it. This prison just has a chain link fence with razor wire around the top. And a lot of people have escaped from it. Because as soon as you get there, the first building you're going to go through is Master Control. And it's an old brick building, and it's kind of long, and it's low, and there's razor wire running from the edges of it around the yard. And there's razor wire across the top. And that's where you go down to have your visits. And the visitation room is connected to it. And there's a little yard where you and your visitor can walk around on a little yard outside and sit at a picnic table if you guys want to sit outside. And people have been known to come down, to sneak into that visiting yard and crawl up on them picnic tables and climb a tree and jump up on top of that building and just jump right in the parking lot and walk off. And it's pretty easy to escape there that way. And a lot of people have done it the same way. And you would think, why don't they stop that? Well, they've tried by putting razor wire up there and cameras, but people still manage it. But the main reason they don't worry about it at Crabtree is because it is way out in the middle of nowhere, and it is surrounded by nothing but fields. If you do get out and take off running, as soon as you get out of this little bitty town, and it is really, really little. There's probably 40 or 50 houses in this town. There's, I think, one Jiffy Trip, and that's all there is in the whole town with a post office. One little church. I think that's it. Anyone that sees you around there, if you don't belong there, they know you don't belong there. People that live there. And if you try to run, there's nothing but fields, man. They can see you for miles and miles and miles. There's not even nowhere to hide. So they don't worry about you escaping. So they take you, when you go through Master Control, the next thing you're going to see is there's another big red brick building, and it's 2 stories tall, and that's the property room, and that's where the major's office is at on the bottom, and the property room's on the top. To your left, there'll be there's the laundry and lockup, the hole if you go to jail, and there's another unit there. There's a 2-story building over there, and that's Unit 1, and it's connected right next to the laundry. And a little further over there on the left is the gym. And in the middle of the yard, just behind the property room, is the chow hall. It sits right in the middle of the yard. A little further on that end, past the chow hall, is the schoolhouse and the library. Over here on your right side, immediately to the right of the building that you go in first, Master Control, is Unit 5. And it is a big old long building, and it's got 5 north and 5 south. And that's because it is a big long building like a warehouse. In the center of this is where the guards sit. And there's plexiglass, so they can look this way and they can look that way. And one end is 5 north because it's on the north end. One side is 5 south because it's on the south end. Just next to it, running this way, another long building, just identical to it. It's called Unit 4, and they have east and west because one end of it is on the east and one is on the west. Just next on this side of that, between the chow hall and Unit 4, sits Unit 2 and 3. They're 2-story buildings. They look like real old 2-story buildings, like people could have lived in, like little castles or something. But other than 2 little small offices for case managers and an office for the police setting, it's just big open room. Both of them, the top and the bottom, with a stairwell connecting it. And there's just bunks sitting everywhere. And that's the same with 4 and 5, and these 2 and 3, and 1 over here. It's just big open day rooms with bunks sitting everywhere. 4 and 5 have little cubicles. So there's 2 bunks in each cubicle, but the cubicles are only about 3 foot tall. So you're sitting on your bunk, and it only comes to about here. You're just looking around at everybody else sitting in their cubicle. And there's like 100 people on each end on 4 and 5, like 4 east and west and 5 north and south. 100 people in each day room, and you're sleeping in here with all of them. And the showers are at the end of the day room on each end. And you go in there, and there's urinals and toilets. And if you sit on the toilet, straight across from you is someone using the sink and the mirror. The toilets are straight across from the mirrors and the sinks. So while you're sitting there taking a dump, someone else is brushing their teeth and looking at you in the mirror. That's what's up. And at this end is showers. And there's just 6 spigots, and you stand there and shower, and everyone that's brushing their teeth and taking a shit can watch you take a shower. So if you're modest at all, bad luck for you. And unit 1, 2, and 3, the 2-story buildings, downstairs there's the same thing, same setup. There's 3 toilets. The only thing is there's a piece of wood between the toilets, so at least you can't see the guy sitting next to you. But straight across from you are 3 sinks and a mirror, so whoever brushing their teeth watching you shit. And just behind you are the showers, just around the corner, same thing. 4 spigots running on the walls, no privacy at all. So the only place you're going to get privacy at Crabtree is Unit 6. They have cells up there, but there is a long waiting list to get up there. You're going to have to be on level 4, and you're going to have to be on the yard, and you're going to have to have seniority and been there longer than everyone else's name who's on the list. And if you're not on the highest level and you get a write-up or anything, you get put off the list until you're on level 4 again. So only the good guys get up there. Now, nowadays, prisons change all the time, like I've told you. And nowadays, they try to make Crabtree for people who don't get in trouble much, old-timers, people don't get in trouble, so people don't get hit in the head all the time. But when I got there, there was a bunch of youngsters there. It was when they started giving out all those ridiculous times. By now, I'm 21, 22. A&R, which is where you go for assessment before you come to prison. You go from the county jail to A&R, from A&R to prison. And it's overrun, and it's backed up, and they don't have room for nobody, and they're just putting people wherever they can get them. So there end up being a bunch of youngsters on this yard, and they fight all the time. And I wasn't there 1 week, and I'm on Unit 4, and I'm sleeping out in the middle of the day room, and haven't really made any friends yet. I know a few people, because at this time I've been locked up 5 years, but the thing you've got to understand about when you go to another yard, you may know a few people that were at another yard with you. But when you're locked up, it's like if you live in Trinidad, Colorado, you don't know nobody in McLeod, Oklahoma. And that is the size of it. Now, there's 8 or 9 different prisons at any given time, including the mediums that are private prisons, basically rented prisons. So you got 7, 8, 9 places you can go at any given time. But if you're at this one for 2 years, you have no idea who's over there, and you have never met most of them. People come, do their time, and get out. They come, do some time, go to minimum. They come, get in trouble, go to maximum. So I was in prison for 20 years, and my fall partner, the 14-year-old, was in there 19, and we were never even on the yard together. Never saw him once. I got to Granite there. I got to Granite at OSR just a few months after he left once. That's the closest we ever got. There's no reason for us not to be together. We just never bumped into each other in 20 years. And that's how easy it is to have met people, or some people you end up bouncing into all the time. Seems like they follow you. But so when I got here, even though I've been locked up close to 5 years now, 21, 22, it's like starting all over. You're still nervous when you get there. Even though I have been to McAllister and Lexington twice and at Connors for a few days, and everybody says, hey, he's been to the walls. Shit, I'm nervous just like everybody else, man. Now there's starting to be a lot more gang members here, a lot of young Crips and a lot of young Bloods, and these young guys, they're fighting. They want to prove themselves. And you've got this one guy, and he's kind of big, and him and these 2 young guys, they got jobs in the kitchen, and what they have done is they've managed to get some parsley, and they have went and bought some weed off the yard. And the way you sell weed around the yard, people run around selling it. They go in the kitchen, get those plastic gloves, and they put a little weed in each finger and then tie it off in a knot and tear it off the glove, and that's a cap. And that is generally somewhere between half a chapstick, take a tube of chapstick, take the lid off, break the weed up real fine, you fill that lid up. Usually it's supposed to be full to be a cap of weed, and that goes anywhere between $5 and $10 in prison, depending on how you pay for it. But a lot of guys just fill about halfway, or they'll buy somebody's who has fuller ones and they'll break them down and make them smaller and still try to sell them for the same price. And you got these guys here, there's two young Crips and then an older guy, it's all muscled up. He's running with them. And they have got in the kitchen somewhere and they snuck some parsley out. And they have went and bought some weed and they got the seeds and stuff out, the seeds and stems out, and they smoked the weed, saved the stems and the seeds, and put it in this parsley. And now they have got these glove fingers, and instead of tearing them in a knot, they cut them off, stuck them together, and kind of glued them all together at the top. So they're sticking together. Well, look, you can see several of them at a time. And if you want one, you just tear it off, take it with you. They're running around selling these, but they're only selling to certain people. And remember, it's parsley, it's not weed. So they sell one to this little black dude. And he's been locked up a while. And this little dude used to box in prison. He's a little muscle up guy. He's getting older, and people think he ain't standing on what he used to be standing on. But this little dude will get mad and fight you at the drop of a hat. So these little youngsters are over there talking to him about the weed, but they run him into the bigger guy, thinking that, you know, he ain't going to do nothing to them. These guys are kind of tall, slim, but you can tell they could probably fight. They play basketball all the time. I play with them. You know, they're real rough. So, but they sell, there's three of them, and this one's real big, and they sell this guy this bullshit weed. It's not weed, it's parsley. So he ends up wanting his money back from him. There's a big argument right before the yard's closed, but we're on Unit 4 on East, but, 4 West, but these two young guys, they don't live on this unit, they're over on 5. So when it comes lockdown, it's just this older guy. His name is Akbar, the one that got beat on the weed, the one that bought the weed that wasn't real. And then the other big guy. But this big guy, you can tell just by watching around the day. We might ain't even been here 2 weeks yet, but you can just tell by how it's going. Everyone really is afraid of that big dude. He's, this dude, I'm not playing. He's like 6'3", probably weighs 240, 50 pounds, and he's all muscles. He's fat. He's walking around there and he's yoked up. People are afraid of him. He's got a lot of time, been in a long time. Akbar ain't afraid of him. So they just have words for the door lock. Akbar's like, man, y'all got me messed up, got me twisted, got me effed up. I'll get at you, fool. So nothing else gets said, get locked down. Everybody's saying, well, maybe Akbar, he might want to try them younger guys. Maybe he ain't mess with that dude right there. So we get locked down at about like 9 o'clock, 8:20, you get locked down for count. After that, they come through, everybody's go to their cubicles. And the guards come in and walk around, count everybody in their cubicle. And they call in count. And you got to stay in your cubicle until count's over. You sit there on your bunk. And everybody's got a little TV. If you have a TV or a radio, you got it in your cubicle. But you got to use headphones. If you get caught without headphones, they'll take it from you. They won't even let you have it if it doesn't have a headphone jack. Okay, so anything you have, TV or radio or both. Back then, you didn't have to have a level to get anything. And you could even have things sent into you. And I'll explain some of that in just a minute. But I wanted to tell you this first. So I'm laying there, and it's about, after count clears about 9 o'clock, and then you can get up and move around in the day room again. Take a shower, heat you some food up if you have it in the microwave, get you some ice. There's an ice machine in the microwave in the day room, but everyone has to share. Usually 2 microwaves and an ice machine. Everybody has to take turns waiting. There's fights over it. There's also 2 phones in the day room. And the phones, you call, it's like $2.50 for the first minute and like 50 cents for every minute after that or something. It's real expensive. Costs your family $7, $8, talk to you for 15 minutes. You can go stand in line, you get a phone call, into your 15 minutes, next person gets in line. And a lot of times there's fights over that stuff. But tonight, everybody gets their food. We all go to our cubicles. 10:20 is locked down for the night. Once 10:20 comes, you got to go to your cubicle. Guards come around and count. After that, you cannot leave your cubicle except for to go to the bathroom to pee or poop and come back to your bed. And the guards watch. They see you walk around, messing around someone else's cubicle. They'll come get you and take you to master control and leave you sitting in there all night in a cell where you can't lay down, you can't do nothing. Just a concrete cell with a concrete slab where you can sit with a toilet there. Nobody wants to spend the night in master control. If that isn't good enough, you're ready to tell you get put in lockup. Okay? Most people don't want to go to the hole. Most people like to stay on the yard. Something else about Crabtree that's different than most medium yards. On most medium yards, they have what they call movement. And what that is once an hour, throughout most of the day, the yard will open for about 5 minutes. And that gives you time to get to wherever you want to go on the yard. You can't go on other units. That's called red lighting. And that's an unauthorized area, and you get a write-up for that. But you can go to the gym, sometimes to the yard. Sometimes you can go to another unit and call someone out of the unit and talk to them on the yard. But you only have 5 or 10 minutes for movement. You got to get back to your unit, library, to work, to the gym. You got to get to one of those places, or church, the chapel, and you got to stay there for another hour or two till there's another movement. Crabtree's not like that. Crabtree and Joe Harper aren't like that. And Lexington's not like that. And on those yards, once the yard is opened up for breakfast or whatever, until count, you can move freely across the yard as you wish. You can go back and forth to the gym or the yard. But Crabtree is different in most places in the fact that you can move around as you want most of the time throughout the day. It's real hot there. There's no air conditioners or anything. So people go and sit in the library or the chapel all day just to try to get cool. You're sitting in there today at 104, and it's just hot as hell, man. Today it was 100 degrees here with 112 or 14 heat index, and I was really glad I could sit in my house with an air conditioner. So it's not just being locked away from your family when you do something wrong. You lose everything. You know, you got to sit in the heat. There's no air conditioners for people in prison. There's no cable TV. And in this case, these guys have got an argument over a little parsley. The amount of weed that most people will scrape into the floor, these guys got into it. Now, here it is about 2 o'clock in the morning, and you hear a real loud, real heavy thunk. And it isn't like loud like a slap. It's like something real hard has hit something soft. And you hear a scream. Hear it again. Akbar jumps up. You see him jump over the wall and take off running. He's got blood all over his shirt. You don't see the other guys stand up. All of a sudden, these three or four young Crips, they run over there because he was an older Crip. They call him an OG. Run over, see him, and he ain't even getting up, man. He is through. Dude, Akbar hit him in the head twice with a horseshoe. So they see what happened. So now they all take off running. Now they're chasing Akbar. People are in the cubicle, they're sitting up, looking around, seeing what's going on. They're chasing Akbar around in the day room, and somehow one of them has got a lock, and he's got it on a belt. Finally, all three of them catch him over by the ice machine, start beating him down, get him on the ground, beating him in the head with that lock, beating him in the head with the lock, stomping him. Finally, 2 or 3 guards run in, and they're able to break it up. They ended up having to help Akbar to medical. The guy that was over on bunk never got up. They had to come in and get him on a gurney and take him out. Dude ended up in the hospital. He never come back to the yard. I don't know what happened to him. Okay, but he didn't walk out of there. And they had to help Akbar. Somebody under each arm helping him get out to medical. And he didn't come back. And those young guys, the 3 that beat him out, they ended up in lockup and they didn't come back. So that was within the time I was at Crabtree for 2 weeks. Now I have a lot to tell you that happened at Crabtree. I did a lot of growing up there. And but this video's gone 23 minutes. So I'm going to stop here in a few minutes, but I want to tell you a few things. In prisons, in medium and maximum security prison, in maximum security, once you get off orientation, if you don't go to protective custody, and if you're not mentally incapable of, if you're mentally incapacitated, then you go where there's no air conditioner. If you're on McAllister, if you're good enough, you want to go sit in McAllister, locked down 24 hours a day, you can get some air conditioner. But other than that, there is no air conditioning. I cannot tell you how hard it is to lay in those cells when it's over 100 degrees and there is no relief. You see people go and they empty the ice machine, but they can't get no ice no more because people have went and got all the ice out of the ice machine, filled up the sink in their cell and set their fan to blow across that ice, trying to cool their cells down just a little bit. Because it gets so hot you can't stand it, man. And that's just one of the punishments. If nobody from the streets is sending you money to go to the canteen and draw down, or if you're on level 1 and you can't get nothing but hygiene and stamps, if you don't have no money and they have something bad in the chow, you're just going to be hungry, man. You're going to go to bed hungry, you're going to go to bed hot, and you're going to go to bed with nothing. And that's why I tell you in these videos that perspective is everything. When you think things are going really bad, you think about how much worse they can get, brother. Because I'm going to tell you that all I have to do when I get frustrated, and I have had the most frustrating week or so, man. My surgeries have been canceled. I've had so many, I'm not even going to tell you all the things that I've had going wrong. So aggravated. It's really, in a way, sometimes it's hard for me to sit here, pretend like everything is good for me. Because it's not sometimes. But I still know how much worse it can get. I'm still thankful for the things I have, and I think about what it could be like. I could be laying somewhere in a cell, locked down 24 hours a day, not able to call my family, in a hot cell with nothing but a little fan and a 100-degree temperature. Would my life not matter? Because when you go to prison, you like to think that the world hits pause until you get back out, but it doesn't. When you're in prison, you just exist. You don't live anymore. And if you go when you're 20, when you get out, in some ways you're still 20, because when you're in prison, you don't live. You don't advance in any way as a human being. You get stuck right where you were when you made your mistake. So if you're thinking about doing something wrong, or maybe you're thinking about your life is bad, brother, just think about the good things in your life and let the bad things go, because the one thing that's guaranteed in this world is that nothing ever stays the same, and baby, it can't rain all the time. So I hope to see you in the next video. If you haven't subscribed, I ask you to do that for me. Working my butt off trying to do something right, make something of myself, and I'm trying to help someone else in the process. If you haven't friended me on Facebook, or you'd like to chat through Messenger, hit me up, man. I've done that with a lot of my subscribers. If you're around the world somewhere, I like to see the pictures. If you're in another state, I'd like to see your pictures on Facebook. So join me on Discord, follow me on Twitter, friend me on Facebook. Hey, man, hit like on the video, but most of all, hit subscribe. Share the video for me if you would. Peace out. May God bless, keep, protect you and yours.